First of all, I want to thank everybody that gave really good feedback last week when I did the press conference video. I had enough of you asked to see that sort of thing again for me to, you know, to want to do it again. So thank you very much. It was a new concept. Glad you enjoyed it. I'm not doing it today, though. And the reason I'm not doing it today, because Pellegrini has done his press conference, is because I think it's his last game. I'm pretty sure it's his last game. I'm pretty sure it's his last press conference. And the idea or the premise of it is to pick through the press conference and find funny things and take the mickey a little bit. And I don't really want to do it because regardless of whether we think he's done a good, bad or indifferent job, I think he's a good man. And he probably deserves a bit better than that. So wait for a new guy to come in, and then we'll have a laugh at their press conferences. It struck me when I was thinking that, though, and I was deciding whether or not to talk about it, because I will try and talk about something positive today, believe it or not. When I was thinking about doing it, it struck me the term "dead man walking" popped into my head. It's not the first time Pellegrini's been a dead man walking, and I thought about it. And almost for his whole last year at Manchester City, everybody knew Pep Guardiola was coming in to take his job. And he was getting asked it constantly in press conferences all the time. What do you think about Pep coming in? And I thought he really conducted himself with really good grace, good dignity, which is not that easy to do. You know, Mourinho's just got a job at Tottenham. He hasn't always acted in a dignified manner. If you saw Gary Monk in the week having a go at the Birmingham City manager, I don't know the history. There's something that's gone on between them, but it was a very public dressing down. And Pellegrini's not that type of guy. He's always been very pleasant, very nice, and I just thought actually he's had a bit of a rough time, really, in terms of it. And I thought whatever he's encountering now is probably not even half as bad as what he encountered at Manchester City, which is to work under owners that you know have got no faith in you for a whole year. But he had to stick it out and he had to stay in that job. So for him to stick around for, 2 or 3 games, as he has done, knowing he's a dead man walking, has probably been hasn't been that difficult for him. But I don't want to lay the boot in, and there you go. But I do think it's game over for him, because we've got Chelsea coming up and tomorrow, haven't we? So, and that's what it is. It's going to be a loss. I mean, if by some miracle it's not, then we'll deal with it and we'll address it. But that's not the positivity of the video, because even I'm not going to try and spin that we're gonna beat Chelsea. What I did want to speak about was sorry, I meant to, One Football app. One Football app. This video is sponsored by One Football app. Download it in the link below. You'll know on that straight away when we've either got rid of Pellegrini or brought in a new manager. I'll tell you that much. What I did want to talk about was the positives in terms of a new manager coming into our club. What they're gonna see as the good things. I think it's very easy to look at West Ham, look at the owners, maybe. Look at the stadium. Look at what's wrong with our squad. And think, actually, nobody will want to touch us with a barge pole. We talk about it. I've talked about it myself. Eddie Howe. Would Eddie Howe come to West Ham? Why would Eddie Howe want to come to West Ham? He's got it nice at Bournemouth. But we do have some good things going for us. And I think I would like to talk about it. And I think we need to hear it as well. And to get a little bit of belief. And it's more players. Now, as I speak at this particular moment, it's rumoured that David Moyes is weighing up either a move to West Ham or Everton. And apparently what he said is he wants enough time at whatever club to build a team, which I completely understand. Now, again, I'm not sure Moyes is my choice. Well, in fact, he's not my choice. But I think if he were to come in, it's very easy to look. I think he'd definitely prefer Everton, and I think he would. But actually, anybody else, there are some good reasons to come to West Ham, and I'm going to go through them. This guy here, Sebastian Haller, right? He's one. He is a brilliant striker. Whoever comes in is highly likely to get him scoring. He's a good reason to join a club. You haven't got to go and look for a striker. We've got one, and we've got a very, very good one. That's not always the case at every club. And it's really a manager coming in and looking at what has he got to work with? What is the nucleus of players he got to work with? Lanzini is injured at the moment. It's worth noting that Lanzini's probably going to be back in about a month's time. That's a very good player. I mean, someone like Moyes himself, Moyes really got a good tune out of Lanzini. Felipe Anderson, not everyone's cup of tea, but a new manager might look at him, might look at what he's done, and think, I can get a tune out of him. I can get him playing. Because I do expect any manager that comes in to have a bit of arrogance about them, to think that on the training ground they can get more out of these players than Pellegrini did. But they have to, right? That just has to be done. There's no point getting somebody in who can't get better out of these players than Pellegrini gets. Anybody coming in is going to fancy themselves. They're going to think, actually, I like that striker. I like Sebastian Haller. I'm going to build the team around him. I'm going to get supply into him. We talk about Moyes. Moyes would always get crosses in. Moyes would probably look at this guy. Moyes loves tall players. Probably look at this guy and think, you are not playing him right at all. We'd see a barrage of crosses coming in. I think you look at Antonio. I think you look at him and you look at his pace and you look at his strength, you look at his power, and you think, actually, I can have that guy in my team. I can do something there. You probably look at Declan Rice and think, yeah, there's a guy there. Not everyone might play him in midfield, might find that he is just a centre-back again. I've never completely ruled it out myself, and I'm pretty sure that it was always up in the air whether he played at centre-back or in central midfield for his whole career. I've always thought he's more a centre-back than a central midfielder. But whether he is or whether he isn't, whoever comes in is going to think, there's a player there, there's an England international, and he's a good character, he's got some leadership skills as well. So people are going to think, well, there's another one to add to the list of players who I think can do really well for the club. I do think there are going to be others. Fornals, maybe Anderson himself, maybe Yarmolenko, maybe Wilshere. Depending on what manager comes in, some managers might just come in and think, actually, I don't fancy them. They're not my cup of tea. They're not, maybe not Anderson, but the others, they're not quite quick and pacey enough. I'm pretty sure anybody that comes in is going to look at the squad and think, I need to inject some pace in there. I'm pretty sure whoever comes in is going to highlight the need for an athletic central midfielder. But it ain't all doom and gloom. So Moyes, for instance, I keep bringing him up because he's the name in the news. I think Moyes, given his Everton connections, would look at Nathan Holland and think, there's a guy I can draft into the first team. I think Grady Diangana, you look at the things Diangana's doing, and any prospective manager think, there's a guy I can bring him. They might even bring him straight back in January. You don't know. And to be fair, if he's going to be part of any manager's plans and be playing in the first team all the time, why not? But again, it's another good reason to join West Ham United. I think I would look at the centre-back situation and think, actually, that's something I can deal with. I can make a back line out of that. Issa Diop. What a wonderful player. Maybe a tad controversial here, but I think he's actually got worse under Pellegrini. The longer Pellegrini's reign has continued, I think Issa Diop has got worse. We often hear, you switch on the radio and switch on the television, and they talk about Klopp improving players. And I don't want to sit here and say, Pellegrini makes players worse as a general sweeping statement, because that's a hell of a statement. It's not very nice. But I certainly think Issa Diop has got worse, and it's maybe a little thing you can do in your own mind. What players have got worse under Pellegrini's tutelage? It's an interesting one to think about. But I only highlight it to suggest that whoever does come in is probably going to think, I can build a team around Issa Diop, or at least a defence. You've got to look at it and think it wasn't that long ago that he was being called a monster by Jose Mourinho. When we beat him, when we beat Manchester United, Jose Mourinho was going mad about him. He's not become a terrible player overnight, but I think a lot of these players have lost their confidence. But a manager coming in is going to think, that's a player I want. That's one of the best young centre-backs in Europe. I can do something with him. They might play Balbuena next to him. They might play Ogbonna next to him. They might even think, hold on, Winston Reid's just come for another 90 minutes. This is a good player. So don't rule that out either. But my point is there are 4 really very decent centre-halves there. And then, of course, you've got the goalkeeper situation. Now, it's easy to look at Roberto, but almost Roberto's games have almost been played. We do have 2 fantastic youth keepers. And in Fabianski, who's going to be back in a couple of weeks, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. So again, a prospective manager's going to look and he's going to think, actually, I fancy that. I can deal with that. I think anyone other than Pellegrini would have ditched Roberto 3 or 4 games ago. Maybe they wouldn't have bought him in the first place. But we're coming to the end of that process. You know, Roberto's not going to really be seen in a West Ham shirt ever again. I'm pretty sure. Maybe he features against Chelsea, but that will be the last time. I'm quite sure of that. And then you move to fullback. Now, perhaps any manager coming in is going to want to do something at fullback. I think that would be the case. Do they deal with right back, or do they deal with left back, or do they deal with both? Well, that is going to be up to the individual manager. But I do like to think that anyone coming in might at left back for the time being think, well, actually, in Cresswell and Masuaku, he's got 2 left backs there who ain't bad at all. And in a more solid, better organised defensive line, we'll do okay. So that'll be all right, I think. I think they're going to do something at right back. But again, don't discount the fact we've got young Ben Johnson there. I do think we have been a little bit, particularly last season, lucky with Pellegrini, and he was very, very happy to bring in young players. But let's not forget, going back to Moyes again, that he played Rice. So that's not an issue. You talk about Eddie Howe. Not that I think he'll come in, but would Eddie Howe come in and start bringing some youngsters through? Yes, I think he would. I think there's a lot of managers who would. And I think a lot of our youngsters are very, very good. I think when any manager came in and had his interview process, I think the manager would be saying, hold on, I think the owners would be saying, we've got these young players here. I think when they hold the meetings, which all new managers do with the training ground staff, with the staff of the under-18s, the under-23s, that sort of thing, I think Holland's name will come up again and again. Dan Garner's name will come up. Ben Johnson's name will come up. So they're going to be made aware of these players. I mean, you may have your own ideas about who's good and who's not good in the squad, but my point is I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I do think we've got problems with the stadium. I do think any prospective manager is going to have to actually manage his own relationship with the owners well and carefully. And so, you know, they are maybe negatives, but you know what? In terms of the positives, I do think there are 5 or 6 and probably more players there. There are any managers going to think, actually, that can be the nucleus of my team. If I can get to January, which obviously they will if they come in, weave a bit of magic, do some loans, maybe bring in an athletic midfielder, maybe bring in a fullback, get rid of a couple or something like that. They may well feel that they have enough at West Ham and it ain't completely the doom and gloom that a lot of us feel at the moment.